Alright, hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to my presentation. I'm going to be talking today a little bit about fitness trails. They're also known as outdoor fitness trails or park courses. If you have not heard of these or seen them before, basically what a park course or outdoor fitness trail is a series of workout stations that are placed either in one cluster or spaced out along a trail. On the little handout that I've given you, I give two examples, one of a 9-station course and one of an 18-station course, both of which would be pretty in-depth. They can range from anywhere between a simple, just a few pieces of fitness equipment to the full 18 or more. These have recently come into popularity in the last 10 years. They're kind of resurging, but originally where they came from was, it was a trend that came out of the 70s. Anybody from the 70s can tell you that some of the trends that happened were not very successful, but this was one that a lot of people in park districts put up and basically had ready and available for people, but they kind of died out along with a lot of other trends from the 70s. They were first introduced into the United Kingdom. That's where they originated, and then they spread into the United States, and they hit their peak at around the mid-70s. I think there was recorded about 300 to 400 different park courses around the United States. And then they really died out in the years after that, but they've kind of made a comeback in recent years. There are two that I know of in the Decatur area, one of which is in Fairview Park. It's a small little station set up next to one of the bike trails that basically has equipment based off of flexibility. They have some pull-up bars on different heights. The equipment is basically there to not just be used for one specific workout. It's equipment that can be used and adapted for different things depending on how intense you want to get into it. Again, they range from very complicated to very simple. The one in Fairview is very simple, although it does have different levels of intensity that you can use. And then the other one, which is located in Forsyth, it's out in Forsyth Park. That one's a little bit more in depth. It has some actual cycling equipment that is stationary, and has a whole list of procedures of what you can do to get cardio or flexibility, and different aspects like that. So now I'm gonna ask you guys a few questions and hopefully get a little discussion going. So being outside, what are some problems that you might find with a fitness trail?
Injury would probably be one of the biggest ones. Yeah. Safety reasons.
Injuries, safety, you're basically alone unless you go with somebody. You have to assume that there's not going to be anybody out there watching you. Yeah. So safety is definitely a main concern.
The
weather, definitely, since basically all of these, the whole concept of these is outdoors. So if it's raining, if it's too cold, then people might not be as inclined to go outside, as opposed to coming to a place like this, which is indoors. Also, one thing that I was going to touch on was location, because sometimes these park courses are located in places that it would take you a while to get to. So it's basically just dependent on time of day, the location, and then also, I guess, if you're going to try and do it during the day, that would be best, because I don't really think that going through some of the trails and parks at nighttime would be a good idea. Second question, what do you think a few advantages to being, what do you think a few advantages that fitness trails have over the traditional gym setting of a place like the Disc?
Something different, I don't know, something out of there, more, I don't don't know how to say it or what I'm trying.
You could do some kind of like circuit training that
Mhm.
was just starting running, and then that being off the course, you
Yes.
could stop and do some strength training.
Yeah,
Continue
that's
cardio.
definitely something that you can do with this. It's not just a cookie cutter. This is what you have to do at each station. You can get cardio in between, depending on how far apart they're spaced. You can work on flexibility. You can work on strength training. You can work on improving your cardiovascular fitness. Another thing that I think you were kind of touching on was variety, and the fact that not everybody just wants to come to the same place every single day and work out. And although people do have gym memberships, sometimes it's kind of nice to just step away from everything, get outside.
And it's no cost.
Yes, yeah, it's also, these things are free. You can just walk up to them, and as long as you know what you're doing, you should be able to get a full body workout in if you so choose. Another thing, you don't have to wait for people at most of these, because a lot of times it's just you. So it's not like you're trying to wait in line at the bench or anything like that for people to get done with their sets. And it's convenient if it's something that's along a park or trail or anything like that. Usually those are fairly accessible to the public, so depending on how far away from any of these you are, you can get there pretty quick and be out of there pretty quickly as well. Okay, third question. How might you locate these trails in your area, and what locations might be best suited for a trail like this?
Maybe Google them, see where they're
Yeah.
at. How else would you find
That's
them?
one thing. The main way of finding these is the internet. And you can search by town, you can search by area, basically to see where they would be located. I know that not all of them are going to be listed, but most park districts will tell you where the location is, where you can find it. I know that the two that I've found in here are online. But other than that, it would just be word of mouth. And discovering them on your own, because that's how I found the two. But then also some other places that you'd commonly find them would be parks. Schools have them sometimes, or any trails in general. I know that there's a few national parks that have trails that run along. And that's where you get into some of these more complicated ones, like the 18 station ones at like a national park, where they really have space and a lot of people maintaining them. My fourth question here is, why do you think they died out in the 70s, and why do you think they're making a comeback now? Sorry, you kind of just jumped in on this, but we've been talking about fitness trails and how they originally came out in the 70s, and then they died out, and now they're kind of making a comeback in recent years.
Is it possibly because more fitness places are opening up, like inside, and the availability of equipment is getting better? Like
Maybe back in the 70s
there wasn't fitness clubs
more
like
gyms
that.
Right.
opening.
I think that that definitely could have been a factor of how many gyms were open at the time. But I did a little bit of research as to why they did die out, and the two sources that I do have are listed on your handouts. But basically what happened was that people were just kind of looking for something new to work out, and not a lot of these trends lasted because people lost interest really quickly. But then they're kind of making a comeback now because people realized that these are actually very good to have in the community. They're free, they're very adaptable. You can do any type of workout that you need as long as they have the equipment that is needed for it. And I think that park districts and other places are kind of recognizing that this is a cheap way to get people active and to introduce fitness in some people's lives. So yeah, that was good. And my last question for you guys here is, how could you incorporate fitness trails into your daily life, and how would it benefit you? It's a loaded question.
First
That is a loaded question.
finding where one is would be the big problem, and then going out and doing it would be different too. Just trying to find time for me personally. Just
Maybe on your lunch break, if you live close to one, you could go there and walk the trail during lunch, or find someone that you work with or something that wants to be a fitness buddy with you.
Definitely. I think that the biggest part is that these things are so convenient. Like, if you have 15-20 minutes during a lunch break or something like that, you can easily just run over, find one. Like, if it's close to you and it's accessible, it would be very easy to just go over, get a quick workout in, and then be on your way, instead of waiting on everybody trying to rush to the gym at the same time. I know that a lot of places at around 5 o'clock is when everybody's getting off work and they all come to the same place. So if you're not trying to compete with other people, it might be easy to do that. But yeah, those are good. And then other benefits that they have. I touched on flexibility. I touched on cardiovascular training. You can do strength training. There's pull-up bars. There's stations to do crunches. I know that there's stations to work on balance, which is something I know that not a lot of gyms really have equipment to work on balance, but some of these fitness trails do. And they can really be tailored to any kind of need that the population would be looking for, like if it would be general weight loss or actual strength training. And that would be something that like a park district could kind of gauge what the population is looking for before they build one of these.
Plus, you can take advantage of weather conditions too, because I know I used to go to the sauna at the Y, and like there'd be guys that would come in there with weights, or if you're like training to like run a 5K like in December, having cold outside, then you could do workouts to simulate the conditions you would be doing in. So, or in the summer when it's really hot out, if you're doing like a football player or something and you're used to practicing in pads, or you're gonna have like a really hot marathon coming up, if you just simulate the exercises with the heat same conditions. So
yeah, that's definitely that's a good way to think about weather, because a lot of times when people think of outdoor fitness trails, weather can be a negative. You're not indoors, you're not sheltered from a lot of the environment, but you can also spin it and say that it could be a good way to train for like hot football practices or things like that. But definitely.
Where are the ones at Fairview at?
The one that's in Fairview is right next to the large pavilion, next to like the soccer field area. Do you know where the soccer field is located? It's basically right next to the play equipment that's right next to it.
Okay.
It's a small little area that has like a few stations set up, and then it has a board telling you what different like physical activity things you could do with it,
Right.
And how to use the equipment.
we're supposed to be putting in a whole set of equipment out at Nelson, like all kinds of new exercises. We're waiting on a grant for it though.
And to wrap it up, these are great ways to get active. They're free. They're very convenient. You can take people with you, and you don't have to worry about the traditional gym setting. It's a great way to introduce fitness into your life. And thank you guys for coming and sitting in on my presentation.
Stop. I'm so sorry. I was in a meeting. I'm like,